Today's video begins with a very sudden start. And the reason is quite simple. We see a Russian soldier suddenly and most likely very painfully gripped by stomach trouble. A feeling we all know. But in his case, the situation became urgent. He had no choice but to immediately look for a private spot. The problem was that the area was completely open. Just an empty field, no trees, no bushes, not even the smallest cover that could shield him from unwanted eyes. And those eyes were there, very sharp ones. A Ukrainian reconnaissance drone had been observing this entire performance from the very beginning. The soldier found a small crater, probably from an explosion. He sat down to take care of his business. But here's the question. Did he really finish so quickly? Or did he notice the silent watcher above him? Because suddenly he stood up and ran without any hygienic measures. Clearly, urgency outweighed common sense. But the Ukrainian drone operators decided to remind him of the importance of hygiene because we all know many dangerous diseases spread when it is neglected. And so, wanting to help the poor fellow, they almost kindly intended to drop him a piece of soap. However, they accidentally mistook it for a bomb. The soap turned into the first strike, followed by several more, just to make absolutely sure that every possible source of infection was eliminated. And now this patient will harm no one, neither his comrades nor anyone else. Drones are truly a remarkable weapon. They can rise so high that the enemy cannot determine their exact direction. And yet, even from such altitude, they remain deadly. Precise drops of bombs, grenades, or even improvised devices make them extremely effective, especially at night. Time and again, we have seen drones striking clearly and accurately in the darkness when the enemy expects it the least. And other types of drones are no less useful. They constantly help to flush opponents out of underground shelters and deliver pinpoint strikes against isolated targets. And here it is fitting to recall the famous book 1984 with just a slight change, because now the big drone is always watching you. Russian soldier who was probably drunk trying to say hi to a drone flying into the soldiers. It took away his chance to greet anyone alive. We see an example of this in the following winter footage. Winter is not the best season for either drones or vehicles. Yet, cars and motorcycles still operate, and they continue to cause harm along the front lines. So, why should unmanned systems stop? That's why we see how skillfully UAV operators handle adverse weather, disrupting enemy transport logistics by destroying cars and motorcycles. Winter has passed, spring has arrived, and that means all the hibernating animals are coming out like this sleeping beauty who after waking up only partially fell into an eternal sleep. But it seems that not everyone woke up. So the drone kindly decided to check the burrow where they might still be hiding. And after checking, it became clear that no one would wake up from there anymore. However, some of the animals woke up from hibernation and began to nervously flee through the night and day. But there is one detail they forgot. Population control in the form of bomber drones that dropped shells to exterminate Russian pests that spoil Ukrainian land. The most reliable delivery agents are hexacopter operators. The video shows the Apache strike force luring the enemy and delivering a huge amount of TNT. The weight of the explosives is so great that the pipe cannot withstand it. The ruins had not been fully cleared, neither of personnel nor of strategic supplies. Scattered fighters remained, hidden among collapsed wall and beneath the rubble, caches of explosives and fuel. Because the area was not secure, commanders decided to strike again. 2 further detonations followed, each one large, each one deliberate after the blast's silence. Since this area was under occupation, a large amount of military stockpiles had accumulated here. Enemy depot, ammunition, equipment. All of this is nearly impossible to hide from the watchful eyes of Ukrainian reconnaissance. Every movement, every concentration of vehicles or troops eventually becomes visible. This is exactly how a line of enemy trench positions was discovered and destroyed. They stretched along a belt of tall trees where the occupiers believed nature would cover and protect them. But for the strike group Apache, such obstacles mean nothing. Drones locate the targets with precision and under expert control simply disintegrate fortified positions. The strikes take place right near the front line in zones of direct clashes. Their power is overwhelming. Trenches that took days and weeks to dig collapse and vanish within minutes. After detonations of such magnitude, it is highly unlikely that anyone survived. An area that once seemed like a safe haven turns into a wasteland, a place too dangerous even for those who once claimed it as their own. And in the last video for today, you can see the closest footage from drones before the immediate strike. These are the most frightening moments. The horror on people's faces before the inevitable. The last seconds when they are still trying to fight, or conversely, when they have already come to terms with death. They all knew where they were going and what awaited them. And perhaps at the last moment, a flash of their previous lives crossed their minds. A quick flash of the past before they fulfilled their earnings on someone else's blood. Thank you for watching.